Alright, I think it's about time to review one of the funniest films I have ever seen in my life, and the two that followed it. So we've got The Hangover, unrated, The Hangover Part 2, and, of course, the mixed and controversial Hangover Part 3. As a trilogy, I respect it entirely. Obviously, I have different opinions on each of the films. Starting with the first one, man, I remember watching this in theaters and laughing my ass off. This is just one of those perfect comedies with a perfect cast. I mean, I didn't really see too much of most of the actors before this one, especially Zach Galifianakis and Ed Helms. I hadn't really seen any films that they were in before this one. Bradley Cooper here and there, but he still wasn't like a huge name. I had remembered him from Midnight Meat Train and maybe a couple other roles, but nothing too much. He started to really blow up after this film, or reach my attention after this film. And good God, is it freaking hilarious, man. Like, there's just so many key moments to this film, and like, you know, just the cameos and the whole taking place in Vegas thing. You got Mr. Chow in here, played by Ken Jeong, the great Ken Jeong. Another one that I didn't hear of until this movie. I mean, what can be said about Ken Jeong as Mr. Chow? Like, frick, his entrance to the frickin' movie is him jumping out of the trunk, stark naked in the middle of the desert with a frickin' pipe and hitting the entire cast. Apparently, from what I hear, he wasn't even supposed to come out of that trunk naked. He was supposed to come out of that trunk fully clothed. So it was Ken Jeong's idea to strip down to his fucking bare ass and surprise the cast that way. That's what I hear anyway. But man, it's such a great movie. I mean, I'm sure everybody has seen it by now, so anybody watching this review, I hope you have seen this, but if you haven't, get on it. I mean, this is going to be pretty spoiler-ish filled throughout the entire review and for all three films. So stop it now if you haven't seen any of these films, and at least go watch the first one. But you got these guys. One of them is about to get married. His name is Doug. And Doug, the film opens up with the famous phone call from Bradley Cooper's character, and he calls Doug's soon-to-be wife, and she's already in her wedding dress at the wedding, and the guests are showing up, and she's like, "Where the hell are you?" And he's just like, we fucked up," and they're in the middle of the desert. And then it flashes back, I think, like 2 days before, what led up to everything. And you have them going out to Vegas, basically, for Doug's bachelor party, and at the Caesar's Palace Hotel, they go up to the rooftop to take a shot of Jägermeister before they go out on a night, and then they wake up in the morning and they don't remember a single thing, and they're trying to piece together everything that happened throughout the night before, which to their discovery is a lot of chaotic shit. Mike Tyson makes a cameo in here. I think I mentioned that already. If I didn't, Mike Tyson makes a cameo in here. I love how they steal a tiger. I love how there's a chicken in their hotel room, and that chicken is never explained how it got there. It's one of the only things that is not explained how it got there. But that's what kind of makes it a little bit more hilarious at the same time. And Melissa, who plays... fuck, what's his name? There's Doug... Stu. Stu is his name. Stu's fiance or soon to be wife, and she is just the most complete miserable cunt there is, and he is just the biggest simp and cuck that there could possibly be. Thank God that he didn't end up marrying that woman, because holy shit does she just own him. And man, everybody's so different, but like, he has to lie that he's going to Napa Valley and he's not going to Vegas. And I mean, you know, Bradley Cooper's character, Phil, is like the extreme of semi-douchebag, like cocky, party guy, you could say. But Stu is like the opposite of that extreme, in the like totally whipped, total, you know, pansy, no balls guy, where apparently the woman he's going to marry had already cheated on him with some sailor or something like that, or some bartender on some cruise, and he just doesn't give a fuck. And you know, there's the whole joke. He didn't even come inside her with him and Stu, and Stu's like, or Phil's like, and you believe that? Just it's so full of shenanigans. I love how Stu ended up marrying what's her name? Heather Graham. There you go. She's played by Heather Graham. She's funny in this. They find a baby in the hotel room. Zach Galifianakis' character. Sorry, I'm gonna butcher his name a few times. Names him Carlos and just carries him around everywhere. Makes the baby, like, takes a little baby's hand and, like, he's jerking his little weenus. And this film is so quotable. You are literally too stupid to insult. I could just go on forever on this movie alone, but I mean, I'll be here for like a full half-hour review on that. So this is a trilogy review, but this is a classic, and this is easily the best one in the trilogy. And you can scrap the rest of the trilogy completely if you want and just watch the first one, but at least watch the first one. Even though I really like part 2 a lot as well. And this one is a mixed bag again, because this one plays like the whole Home Alone 2 scenario, where it's basically the first film, literally, takes place in Bangkok instead of Vegas. And this time it is Stu's bachelorette party, which Stu doesn't even want a huge shenanigan ordeal for his bachelorette party. He actually wants to have it at IHOP, where he takes Phil and Zach Galifianakis' character, Alan. And he takes everybody to IHOP, and that's his bachelorette party as well, because he's like, I'm not getting roofied this time. Fucking Zach Galifianakis as Alan. He's hilarious in the first film, and he's still funny in this one. I love how he ends up with a shaved head. I love how Stu ends up with a Mike Tyson face tattoo. I love how Mike Tyson makes another cameo in this one right at the end of the film. Like I said, this one is pretty much beat for beat the first film, just in Bangkok. Even the jokes get redone. There was the joke where Stu plays that piano song, that slow song in the hotel in the first one. This one, he does kind of the same thing. He makes up a song about his friends, and he's playing the guitar on this boat or something like that. You know, the jokes are repeated, and a lot of people aren't going to like that, but to me, it's just another squeeze of jokes from the bag. You know, like they like threw everything comedy wise in the first film, and this is like the outtakes kind of thing, like the remaining gags that they had left. So if you're not too much into a film kind of repeating itself with its sequel, you might get a little bit annoyed with this one. But I think if you found the first one funny, and if you don't mind seeing jokes kind of done again in different ways, then you're not going to have too much of a problem with it. It's still funny. And another thing that I'm not too crazy about in part 2, all of the characters' kind of shticks and tropes and their personalities start to get a little bit annoying in this one. So Phil is a little bit over-the-top douche and over-the-top dick a lot of the times, especially at IHOP, when he's literally putting everybody else down. He's very selfish in this one. He's very, like, self-centered. He only cares about himself, his own entertainment kind of thing. Alan's character starts to get a little bit annoying with his crying and his borderline autistic personality. It starts to get a little bit overdone with the characters, I find. But other than those little nitpicks about it, it's still enjoyable. And with the third one, we have a little bit of a Halloween Ends situation going on, where you have Halloween and Halloween Kills, and then Halloween Ends comes around, and it's like, what the fuck is this? While Hangover 3 came around, directed by the same guy, Todd Phillips, and we're like, what the hell is this? No hangover in this film. No partying in this film. They don't wake up and don't remember anything. This film is literally I would dare say, action comedy, which is strange, where the whole wolf pack is basically dealing with the repercussions of the whole selling the roofies to Alan in the first place in the original film, and the repercussions of what happened with Chow. So all the shit that Chow did, and in the second film included, because he was arrested in the second film and by the Paul Giamatti character, another actor who shows up in the second film that I loved seeing. As soon as I saw his name come up in the credits at the beginning of the film, I'm like, Paul Giamatti's in this? That's fucking awesome. So all the shit that Chow created, now the Wolfpack is kind of let in there. John Goodman shows up here as like the drug dealer kingpin that the what they call Black Stew was working for, who sold Zach Galifianakis the drugs in the first place. There's a scene too where Zach Galifianakis drops the N-word in here, and it's totally unexpected. It comes out of nowhere. It made me howl because I was not expecting that to come out of his mouth, even though Alan's a tool and a fucking card. It's just, it was hilarious when he dropped that. But anyways, because Black Stew sold the drugs to Alan in the first movie, now they're paying all the consequences. And they have to basically... Chow ended up stealing a bunch of gold from John Goodman's character, and this leads them to Mexico, and they have to... Chow and the whole wolf pack break into Chow's old house to steal gold from the wall, but then it ends up being that they just stole John Goodman's other half of the gold. So now John Goodman is missing his entire gold, and he's holding Doug hostage this whole time. It takes everything that the first two films kind of base themselves on, and just swipes everything, like swipes the rug right from underneath the whole structure of the film, of the Hangover formula, you could say. And it's different. Like I said, it has that Halloween Ends syndrome. It's just so different than the first two. And you're either on board for it or you're not. This film actually grew on me more as I watch it. It's still the weakest of the three. I don't find this film nearly as good as the first two. I do like Melissa McCarthy's... You can call these cameos because you can tell that the characters or the actors and actresses are playing like exaggerated versions of themselves, so you can kind of call them cameos, but at the same time, they're still their own characters. But Melissa McCarthy, her character coming in here and basically being like a female version of Alan, and Alan and her falling in love was funny. But some of the things are just silly, and it just seems too unnecessary to kind of pull back from the Hangover formula as much as Todd Phillips did with this. But moments here and there are funny. I ended up giving this one specifically a 2 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and it's just okay. It finishes off the trilogy, and that's pretty much the best thing about it. In comparison, especially like standing next to the first two, you know, like I'd rather always watch the first one and then the second one for extra laughs, and then this one is kind of just there kind of thing. That's really my opinion on all three of them. But yeah, the first one being the best. This one easily got a 4.5 out of 5. I fucking love this film. This is one of my favorite comedies of all time. Part 2, you get a foreign take on the same story, literally. So if you're alright with seeing a lot of the shit repeated in different ways, the monkey is fucking awesome. I mean, that's a perfect addition to this film. I love that fucking monkey. I love the monk that they bring in, that is silent the whole time. I love the little guy, the young kid. I forget his name now, but he's like a super smart genius. And I love how the father and Stu's fiance's dad and Stu never get along. The whole speech that the father makes at the dinner table, he's like, Stu is like Joe. Everybody, you know, the world needs Joe and the world needs Stu. So for some extra laughs, it's good. And then you have the third, which has its moments, but is certainly very hard to hold a candle to the first film outside of kind of wrapping it up. But it's fine. I think Chow is, again, a little bit over the top with his personality, and you kind of start getting a little bit tired and sick of his, you know, one-beat formula. But it could be worse. Yeah, so like I said, 4.5 out of 5 for the first one, 3.5 out of 5 for the second one, and 2 for the third one. So that is the Hangover trilogy in its entirety, and it's a lot of fun to binge all three of them for sure. But I mean, just fucking stick with the classic. It stands perfectly on its own. The two are not really needed, but since they're there, there's certainly worse trilogies out there. So that's what I got on the Hangover trilogy. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice or if you like my film reviews. I will be back with more. Check out what's on the channel. Stay tuned for what's coming. And until next review, have a good one. Take care and cheers.